He never should have left his comms device on the counter. But then again, I never should have picked it up. Fate has a sick sense of humor, and mine apparently enjoys watching me choke on my own embarrassment while holding another man's secrets in my hands. The captain wasn't supposed to be beautiful. Men like him were supposed to be distant, untouchable figures commanding respect, not the type whose half-smile could knock the air straight out of your lungs. But the moment I saw his words glowing on the screen, those trembling, unfiltered confessions meant for no one's eyes but his own, life turned upside down. It was an accident, pure and simple. We were docked in a small coastal town in Maine, the kind of place where the air smelled of salt and diesel, and the gulls circled like they owned the damn sky. I had gone to pick up my device before heading back to the quarters, but in the rush, I grabbed his instead. It wasn't until I was already halfway down the pier, scrolling, that I realized my mistake. And by then it was too late, because his secret was written right there, clear as day. I think I'm in love with him. The message was unfinished, unsent, but it didn't matter. My throat tightened, my heart slammed against my ribs, and I nearly dropped the thing into the ocean. There was no name attached, no explanation, but I didn't need one. The way it was typed, hesitant, raw, like a storm breaking through, felt too real to ignore. And now I carried it like a grenade in my pocket, knowing it could blow everything apart. The problem? He carried mine too. Hours later, when I finally tracked him down, I saw his broad shoulders tense as he held my own device. He wasn't scrolling, but the screen was unlocked. His gaze flicked up to me, sharp as a blade, and my stomach turned to ice. "You write poetry." His voice was low, almost unreadable. Poetry. God, not the good kind either. The bad, sappy, late-night kind where I spilled out thoughts I never meant anyone to read. Lines about the way his voice sounded across the deck. About the way his eyes looked in the storm. About the captain himself, though I never dared write his name. My ears burned. That's private. So is mine. He stepped closer, holding out my device in exchange for his. His fingers brushed mine in the transfer, warm and steady, while my own hand trembled like I was caught doing something criminal. His gaze didn't let go of me, though, and I hated the way it pinned me down, forcing me to acknowledge everything we weren't supposed to say out loud. The harbor was busy around us. Sailors hauling ropes, vendors shouting over crates of fish, children running along the planks. But in that moment, it felt like the world had narrowed into a single fragile thread between us. "I didn't read all of it," I blurted, even though we both knew that was a lie. "I swear, I wasn't snooping." His lips quirked, but it wasn't a smile, more like a wound. "And I didn't read all of yours." We stood there, two men bound by words we weren't supposed to know, staring at each other like strangers who had just stolen each other's souls. Later that night, when the ship was quiet and the sea rocked us like a lullaby, I couldn't stop replaying the moment. His words. My words. Two confessions tangled in silence. I told myself it didn't mean anything, that people wrote things they never intended to say out loud, that the captain's "I think I'm in love with him" could be about anyone. But deep down I knew, and the knowing scared me more than anything, because if his secret was real, then mine suddenly mattered too. The next morning he cornered me near the supply room, away from the crew. His jaw was tight, his eyes storm-dark, and for a moment I thought he was going to tear into me for crossing lines we couldn't uncross. Instead, he leaned close, so close I could smell the salt on his skin, the faint trace of coffee on his breath. "Don't tell anyone what you read," he said. My pulse stumbled. "Then don't tell anyone what you read." It should have ended there. A stalemate, pact of silence. But the way he looked at me, steady, unflinching, wasn't the look of a man simply protecting his pride. It was the look of someone who had already given something away, long before I ever stumbled upon it. And that terrified me more than anything. For days, silence became our shield. We worked side by side, spoke only about ropes and sails, storms and orders. The crew didn't notice the way his hand lingered a fraction too long when passing me the maps, or how my gaze kept betraying me, flicking to his face when I thought no one was watching. But inside, Every second felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for gravity to make the final decision. The device burned like a phantom weight in my pocket even after we had returned them to their rightful owners. His words haunted me, replaying endlessly. I think I'm in love with him. And every time I replayed it, I wondered, was that him speaking about me? Or some phantom I couldn't compete with? It was nearly a week later, under a sky split open by rain, that the truth finally demanded air. The storm had come fast, waves battering the deck, crew shouting against the wind. He was everywhere at once, commanding, steady, the kind of presence that anchored a ship even when nature tried to tear it apart. And still his eyes found mine, even through the chaos. When the storm finally broke, and the sea went quiet like a beast retreating, I found him alone near the bow, drenched, hair plastered against his forehead, chest heaving with exhaustion. I should have walked away. I should have let silence remain our armor. But instead, my feet carried me toward him. "You scare me," I said. The words tumbled out before I could stop them, raw and trembling. His head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing. "Scare you? Not like that." I swallowed hard, hands shaking. "You scare me because I don't know what to do with this. With what I read. With what you might have read from me." His gaze softened, the sharpness bleeding away into something quieter. "I know." The rain dripped between us, tapping against the wood, filling the silence. I wanted him to deny it, to laugh it off, to make me feel foolish for daring to believe I could matter. But instead, he stepped closer. Close enough that the world outside the two of us disappeared. "It was about you," he said simply. His voice was rough, unpolished, but honest. "That message, the one you saw, it was always about you." The air punched out of me. My heart stuttered, heat racing to my face. You mean that?" "I do." His eyes locked on mine, unyielding. "And your poems? You don't need to hide them from me. I've known for a long time, even before the device." I wanted to deny it, to claim he was wrong, but the truth had already bared its teeth. He had seen meal of me, and instead of running, he had stepped closer. The confession didn't end in a kiss. Not then. Not yet. What bloomed between us in that moment was heavier, deeper. Promise unspoken. In the days that followed, we found ourselves pulled together in ways we couldn't explain. The way his hand brushed against mine when no one was looking. The quiet smiles traded across the deck. The silent conversations at night, sitting shoulder to shoulder with the stars above us. We lived in fragments, in stolen seconds, in words we didn't dare to say out loud but carried in the spaces between breaths. The crew didn't notice, or maybe they did and chose to ignore it. But we knew. Every touch, every glance, built into something larger, something that could no longer be hidden forever. It was in a quiet harbor in New Hampshire that everything finally broke open. We had docked for supplies, and the rest of the crew disappeared into town. The sun was setting, painting the water gold, and the air smelled of pine and salt. He found me sitting at the edge of the pier, legs dangling over the side. "You're quiet," he said, lowering himself beside me. I gave a shaky laugh. "So are you." He studied me for a long moment, then exhaled. "I don't want this to stay in the shadows." I turned to him, startled. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said, voice steady, "I'm tired of pretending I don't want to hold your hand when the world is watching. Tired of hiding what I feel because of fear or rules. I've lived my whole life keeping parts of myself locked away. But with you," his voice broke, just slightly. "With you, I want to stop hiding." My chest tightened, tears stinging behind my eyes. For so long, I had convinced myself we would stay trapped in silence, that our confessions would remain secret scars we carried separately. But here he was offering me something bigger. Slowly, I reached out, my hand trembling, and laced my fingers with his. His grip was firm, grounding. For the first time, we didn't look away. The sun slipped lower, waves lapping against the pier, gulls crying overhead. And in that fragile, perfect moment, we kissed. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It was steady, like the tide. His lips were warm, his hand anchoring at the back of my neck, pulling me closer as though he'd been waiting his whole life for this. And maybe, in some way, he had. When we pulled apart, breathless, his forehead pressed against mine, he whispered, "No more secrets." I smiled through the tears threatening to fall. No more secrets. And just like that, the fear unraveled. The secrets that once chained us became the bridge that carried us to each other. What began as an accidental swap device, a blushing poem, a half-finished confession had led us here, to something real, something worth holding on to. The world didn't stop. The sea would still rage, storms would still come, the crew would still laugh and work as if nothing had changed. But for us, everything had changed. We weren't just captain and crew anymore. We weren't just two men guarding secrets. We were something more. And for the first time, that was enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.